What's up everybody, Soul here with another MENACE video for your viewing pleasure, and today we're going to start from the very beginning. I know a lot of people are picking up MENACE, trying out for the first time and playing, and I'm seeing a huge number of people posting looking for beginner's guides. And I'm going to tell you, Hooded Horse has already got this covered. They got a fantastic beginner's guide. I'm going to respect that and not reinvent the wheel, and we're going to read off of it and go over it because it's pretty phenomenal and pretty all-encompassing. So here we go. A little bit of an overview of the gameplay. Let's talk about it. MENACE sees you as a commander of the strike cruiser TCRN Invictus, stranded in the Wayback System, a backwater group of planets. Within this system, multiple factions are vying for control, from pirates and their unhinged combat tactics to corporations and organizations seeking an edge over their rivals, to a new menacing threat lurking in the dark corners of the system. That's the big one, right? Featuring a strategic layer that lets you choose which faction to work with, MENACE sends you from planet to take on procedurally generated operations that pit you against 4 planet-side factions: aliens, pirates, the rogue army, and an unknown threat, which I'm sure you guys know what that is. Each operation consists of multiple missions connected through the branching paths with different objectives, challenges, and rewards for you to pick up and choose from. You'll need to prepare by hiring new squad leaders, accessing the black market, upgrading weapons and armors, and upgrading the Invictus to assist you from orbit, which is huge. Really big deal. Once on the battlefield, you'll engage the enemy in turn-based tactical combat, complete the objectives, and try to keep your squad alive to secure operational success and the well-earned loot that comes from it, with it, before moving on to the next mission. The battles in MENACE are challenging, and you're likely to lose many squad members, but with all the information in this guide at your disposal, we'll be able to keep that count to a minimum. So you planet side commanders, what they say. And yeah, here you have, of course, an image of the map which you're looking at. And this is your overview. These are all the planets. You're only going to have access, as of this recording, to 3 of them, and you get to choose your missions. And let's continue on. We'll talk about that. So as you can see on this map, we have 3 things denoted: 1, 2, 3, and 4. 4 things denoted. Anyways, moving on. It says the bridge is where your non-combat management will take place, providing you with several options that will help prepare you in the future operations and the missions therein. We will address all of them in this section of the guide. Before we do, however, let's address the 4 icons under the Invictus at the top left corner, as they will be relevant as we progress through the different elements. Okay, number 1, promotion points. This is a big deal right here. Accumulated by successfully accomplishing both primary and secondary mission objectives. These are used to promote your squad leaders, providing additional perks to their squads. So promotion points are important. The more successful you are in your missions, the more promotion points you'll get. Very important stuff right there. And then authority, your ability to keep order and discipline on the Invictus. The higher authority, the more discipline your squads have, providing faster suppression recovery. Authority is also used to hire new squad leaders and for certain events that may arise during your campaign. And so authority is something I try to hang on to and kind of hoard there for a little while. Utilize it. Get your squad leaders. You don't want to put yourself down to 0, but as long as you got some, I think you're doing pretty well. I don't know what the scale is and the gradient looks like, but you cap at 100. So don't try to hoard or hang on to any more than that. And in my opinion, it's better to get all your squad leaders unlocked. Utilize that authority as soon as you can to do so, without zeroing out your tab, of course. So that's just me. That's my advice. Moving on. OCI components. Use these components to upgrade the Invictus. So the OCI components, they're rewards. You're going to use them. You're going to put different compartments in your Invictus and enhance what you're going to be able to do on the field or get certain advantages. We'll go over that more later in this guide. Very, very good thing to use. Definitely take advantage of it. Squaddies, the total number of squaddies or squad members at your disposal for missions. And so you can see that up on the screen where the number 4 is denoted. And so that is important. That's basically your army size. It will grow. You will get more. There are components you can put in the Impetus through the OCI component thing, and you're going to be able to add more and get more down the line. And when you're first starting out, you're going to go through squaddies. It's unfortunate. You might be tore up when you lose a squaddie and they die. Don't be too upset. Understand that that's what happens. But if you do drain that and you don't have any manpower or squaddies in the bank, you're not going to be able to add on to that squad, and it'll be a deficit. A minimum is required of 2 before you send the squad leader out. And if your squad leader loses all their squaddies and they'll start taking damage, they'll go down the whole 9. But your squad leader is always the last one standing. Take that in for what it's worth. System map and operation selection. And so the system map provides a comprehensive view of the Wayback System in any available operations. Selecting an operation will provide you with information on planetary features, the enemy you'll be fighting against, and the resulting change to trust with the faction that you are doing the operation through. The above operation, for example, will take place on a temperate biome planet, where you will be fighting against native alien fauna. A success in this operation will increase your standing with the backbone by 18. And so you can see that here in this image. Really good stuff. Very informative. And of course the backbone is one of the 3 factions, which is also listed in this, in this image: Dice of the Gods and the Zane Beecher Corp. Moving on, faction standing. So as you continue to improve your standing with certain factions, you will unlock new OCI upgrades for the Impetus, which we will address next. Faction standings are located at the bottom left of the corner of the strategic overview screen, and selecting any faction displays a brief summary of the faction and any currently selected components. And so you're going to be able to click on those factions, and especially when they're highlighted in orange, that means you get a new choice. But you're going to click on those factions and you're going to be able to choose what you want to get as a reward to put in the Impetus. Really good stuff. Very good reason to level up your connection with those factions, your trust with those factions, because you want more. There's a lot of really good perks, a lot of really good OCIs you absolutely want in your arsenal. OCI operational compatibility improvements. Okay, so operational compatibility improvements, of course, is what OCI means. As you can see in this image, you got a 1, 2, and a 3. Let's talk about it. At the start of the game, the Impetus is heavily damaged, with nearly every OCI destroyed. There are 3 categories on the Impetus to slot these upgrades: electronics, armament, and hull. 1. Electronics. These provide intelligence for mission prep, detailing the starting locations of units and their unit type. The higher your intelligence level, the more detailed information you receive. And this is huge. I'm going to be honest with you. This is so big, because you're going to go on your mission, you're going to get your overview, which we'll get into in a little bit, don't worry. And you'll see each unit. And if you don't know what they are, they can just be unknowns, or confirm that they're just enemies, but you don't know what kind. As your intelligence goes up, not only will you be able to know for sure if they're enemies or not, but you'll be able to tell what kind of enemy. You'll be able to see specifically what that is, so that you can plan more appropriately. And yeah, knowing is half the battle. Go Joe. Anyways, number 2, armament. Providing you with firepower from orbit, armaments allow you to use rockets, strafing runs, or even ion beams on the battlefield to decimate your enemies. Absolutely phenomenal. Of course, I have my preferences on armaments I like. There's a lot of them. They're really fun. And yeah, it's off-map ability is what they call it. And so it allows you to basically do different things. Like I said, strafing run, bomb a certain location. The beautiful thing about it is usually they have pretty infinite as far as range. You can just put it wherever you want in the map. You don't even need to know. You can just place it in the fog of war. So if you have really good intelligence and you know there's something there that you don't want to deal with, you can bomb it right away, first turn, as soon as you load in the map. Really nice stuff. Now, of course, there's a little bit of delay. It doesn't just happen instantly, but that usually is pretty quick, and the game doesn't make you wait too long. Otherwise, it really wouldn't have utility. It wouldn't be that great. So it is pretty quick. It is pretty responsive, but it's just not instant. So moving on, number 3, hull. The broadest of the 3 categories, hull components can range from medical bays, that heal squaddies, to vehicle repair bays and other upgrades that can bring in additional manpower to your squads after a battle. Really good stuff right there. And this is where you're going to basically be putting all your little extras that are going to give you all the benefits that you want, in which there's one that allows you to have a bigger army supply, which is a big deal. There's one that gives you more components based on vehicles you destroy. There's all kinds of different. There's ones that give you more drugs. There's all kinds of stuff. Really good stuff. This is really important. You're going to want to have all your compartments filled, especially in the hull. And yeah, it's going to be great. Upgrading your OCI areas requires actual components, which are earned after you complete an operation. Unique OCI upgrades from the various local factions may cost more than standard TCRN versions. However, they can provide much more powerful effects in return. And so you'll see that with the intelligence OCI in particular, because you'll see that they'll give you like a +1 intelligence, and then you have an upgraded version that gives you a +2. Well, there's one that you can get from a faction that gives you like a +3, and really for not much more than the +2, and it's way more powerful. Obviously, you only get those slots, and so if you have a +1 versus a +3 in that slot, it's a big deal. So take that for what it's worth. Really, really good stuff right there. Squad customization and stats. So squad customization and stats we have right here. We have this fantastic image of our guy Edwin Pike, and it says your crew on the Impetus is comprised of different squads of soldiers, each led by a squad leader. The squad leaders have their own personalities, backstories, and unique perk trees, allowing for a varied set of soldiers to deploy on the battlefield. While some squad leaders are in charge of infantry squads, others are pilots who arrive on the battlefield in a variety of vehicles. Pilots. Each squad has a range of customization options to make them even more unique based on the equipment you have at hand, which is very real. Each squad leader has a different growth path, different perks at their disposal, which allows for you to really kind of do different things, play with different things, and to play different ways amongst each one. Very nice stuff. Once again, you can adjust how many squaddies you have with your squad leader. The more squaddies you have, the more expensive they are as far as supply costs. And some squad leaders benefit from having more, and some benefit from having less. So make sure you're reading, going over that. I've got a guide on all the squad leaders, so make sure you go check that out as well. And then as you can see, you can name these squaddies as you desire. And so that's really nice. So a little bit of customization you can throw into the mix. Very nice stuff. Squad leader battlefield modifiers. Okay. And so you see this right here in this image. We have 1, 2, 3, and 4. Of course, number 1 being armor. Let's go over that in just a second. Your squad leaders each have a set of battlefield modifiers that will affect the entire squad on the missions. Armor upgrades, accessories, and squad leader perks will be the primary ways to increase these 4 modifiers. 1. Armor. Modified by equipable armor for an infantry squad. The base armor of a vehicle for your pilot squad leader, and then armor is equipped by every squaddie. So when you put that armor on, all your squaddies are wearing it, period, dot. It's shared. Very nice stuff. Detection. The ability to detect a unit within the squad leader's vision. Detection may be reduced by weather effects like sandstorms and snowstorms. Very good. Concealment. How difficult it is for the enemy to detect your own squad. There is an eye closed icon next to the squad that is fully concealed. And so you'll see that some squad leaders have lots of extra concealment or ways to be concealed. And so you'll see that little eye that flash through it, meaning that they are concealed, they're not seen. And that's really big. You can hit enemies from a concealed position, and we'll go over that in a combat guide regardless. And it's really nice. It's beneficial. It doesn't tell you where you are per se. The enemy will react differently based on what kind of weapon you're using, but it's important. You can hit from those concealed positions and stay concealed. Really good stuff. Vision. How far your squad leader can see through the fog of war. Much like detection, vision may be reduced by weather effects on a mission. Really good stuff. And of course, these vary by squad leader, so make sure you take a look and take that into consideration when you're deciding who to put where. Squad leader stats and attributes. Okay, and so as you can see right here, number 1 is action points, number 2 is accuracy, 3 discipline, 4 damage reduction, 5 is hit points, 6 is critical chance, 7 is defense, 8 is your promotion tax, 9 is your supply cost, and then 10, of course, is your perks, and 11 is your growth potential. Number 12 over here is your perk tree, kind of showing off all the perks. Let's go over these individually, point by point. Your squad leaders have a range of attributes and stats that determine their roles and effectiveness on the battlefield. A squad leader's attributes rating directly translates to their stats, making attributes a crucial element to understand. We will focus on the resulting stats below. And so agility translates to action points. This is the general agility, quickness, or dexterity of a character, determining how fast and efficiently they can act on the battlefield. The maximum agility of 100 translates to 120 action points. Really good stuff right there. And so I'm going to tell you right now, action points for me are one of the most important stats in the game. If you don't have a good action economy, there's not a lot you can do, and that is probably the most important thing, in my opinion at least. And so it determines how much you can move, how much you can shoot, how many abilities you can use, you name it. Very, very important. Action economy is really the most important thing in my opinion. Weapon skill translates to accuracy. Weapon skill is a level of proficiency with any kind of weapon and how effectively it can be used against an enemy. Weapon skills give the character's accuracy. This attribute provides the corresponding stat 1 for 1, so 70 weapon skill equals 70 accuracy. Good to know. And so there's lots of things you can do to enhance and increase your accuracy. This is a less important stat in my opinion. It will of course grow over time. You'll see like on Carta, she has pretty bad accuracy, but it can grow over time. And then her perk, which we haven't discussed yet, will naturally put her at a disadvantage, but then will be an advantage later in the match. So pay attention, read your stuff, and understand how you can supplement poor stats or how important a stat is. Number 3, Valor, which directly translates to discipline. Valor is a character's overall determination and audacity, and their ability to withstand any type of physical or mental challenge. It translates 1 for 1 with the discipline stat. And so that, of course, as it says, if you're taking fire, you're being suppressed, whatever it may be, your discipline comes into effect there, and so you will suffer various debuffs. Whether you start wavering or fleeing, that's directly related to your discipline. And so if you have poor discipline, a couple shots won't do much to spook you. You're going to want to get out of dodge, and so your squad leader is going to start wavering on you, which takes even more stat debuffs, because that is a debuff. And yeah, it's a big deal. So discipline is really important. If you're taking those shots, if you can plan and strategize ways not to take the hits, kudos to you. That's the way I prefer to play. Your discipline becomes less of a factor, but it's not always possible. Moving forward, toughness. Okay, damage reduction is what that's related to. Toughness attribute translates into damage reduction applied to any damage received. Most characters start with a toughness of 50, which means they have no damage reduction. The maximum toughness of 100 translates to 50% damage reduction. However, certain characters that are more fragile than others may start with a value below 50, meaning they take extra damage from attacks. So JG Wentworth is one of those that starts with minus and damage reduction. I believe Gene Side and so on, but just read your stuff. Make sure if they take a negative in that damage reduction, obviously they're not your starting front line. They can grow. You can learn. All squad leaders grow. And so you can put them in the fray and allow them to grow those stats. Just understand some are harder than others, which is growth value, which we'll get to in a minute. But regardless, yes, this is really cool. To be able to grow a stat into a 50% damage reduction constant is massive. And so you kind of want to put some enemies and some of your, squad leaders in the fray so they can grow those stats and become more hardened and better in that way. Really good stuff right there. And so, moving on, Vitality. Vitality translates to hit points per element. Vitality determines the hit points of each element in a squad. So element is each individual squaddy. You'll see, like when you're fighting an enemy and they've got 3 units running around, that's 3 elements in that squad. If you choose to go in with 8 squaddies, then you have 9 elements in your squad, including the squad leader. Take that for what it's worth. Moving on. Yes. The standard is 50, which gives 10 hit points, while the maximum is 100, which offers 20 hit points per element. With a toughness, as with toughness, there are also characters with low vitality, meaning the elements in their squad will have less than 10 hit points. It's very true, very accurate. Make sure you read, understand your squad leaders before you send them. Remember, I've got guides on all these. Precision to critical hit chance is what that conversion is. This gives the chance for each attack to score a critical hit, increasing the damage done by 50%. Most characters who are not explicitly trained in marksmanship will start with a precision of 0, meaning they have no chance of scoring a critical hit. The maximum of 100 translates into a crit chance of 25%. Enemies will not be able to land critical hits on player units. Really important stuff right there. Enemies not be able to land critical hits on player units. Really big deal. Most of your squad leaders will have ways to score critical hits through their perks, because this is pretty steep. To get your precision all the way up to 100 and only have a 25% crit chance really tells you how important crit is, how big of a deal it is. And part of that's because a lot of your damage instances are based on rate of fire and the elements of, not only you or the enemy's units, but also the amount of ammo you're spending per round. If it's a burst fire, let's say your fire rate is 4. That's 4 opportunities for a critical hit within a single shot, or single 40 points, whatever it may be, of action points dedicated to it. And so you're actually going to have quite a few criticals popping off, even at a simple 10% chance. So a lot to take in right there. Just bear that in mind. Let's continue. Positioning and then defense is what that translates to. This is the ability of a character to disperse their unit or place their vehicle in a way that minimizes the chance of being hit by enemy fire. Most characters start with a positioning value of 50, which translates to no defense bonus. Okay, really big deal right there. The maximum 100 gives you a defense bonus of 50, reducing the enemy's accuracy against its unit by 50. So this is different than damage reduction. This is avoidance. This is mitigating damage through avoidance. And so positioning really, really good. Really interesting stuff right there. And so you have another way to avoid damage, get out of the way of it, and instead of just mitigating it. And so this is really nice with that positioning in the defense stat. Promotion tax. For every promotion a squad receives, its supply cost increases. That's really important. This is to encourage the use of less experienced squads. And so there's ways to supplement this, to work around this. This is an important mechanic in the game. We'll go over this more. But when you're picking your missions and you're deciding who to put where, there is a total supply cost, and each squad, depending on their loadout and squaddies, determine their own squad cost. So bear that in mind. Unique starting perk. Every squad leader starts with one specific perk already unlocked. These are very different between squad leaders and are designed to make them feel unique and emphasize each individual's character. Every squad leader has a unique perk that they start with, and they usually will have 2, maybe 3 unique perks through their tree at the different tiers. We'll get into that more later. Just make sure you take a look and read, because usually that indicates a way to play that squad leader and leans into it. And by choosing those perks, you're acknowledging that's how you want to play them. That's what they're meant to be played. Take that into mind. Take that into consideration for what it's worth. Yeah, moving on. Growth potential. This is the one everybody always wants to talk about. Indicates the rate at which a character can increase their attributes. Unlike most RPGs, when you can choose which attribute to increase when a character levels up, in MENACE, these increases happen slowly and automatically based on actions on the battlefield. And so of course, as you get higher level in your stats, you have a diminishing return on the amount of stat growth you get. And so a lot of people believe that investing in growth potential is not worth your while. If you're amongst those, there's nothing wrong with that. That's on you. Just to understand, most characters that have a higher growth potential start with a lower growth or lower stat pool. Most characters, let's talk about Edwin Pike, who have low growth potential have a higher stat pool. But, and here's the but, they may have one or two stats that are just not great, that are abysmal. You have to consider yourself whether or not you want that growth potential. If you're just creating a moderate growth potential, then you're creating a moderate return in their action. So each time they take an action, they're potentially growing the stat. If they take fire, they're growing their toughness, they're growing their positioning. And if they shoot, they're growing their precision, they're growing their weapon skill. And if they move, then they're growing their agility. You get me? So really interesting stuff. Just by using the units, you're going to grow them. If they desperately need the stats, I would highly suggest investing in growth potential. That's just me. And once again, the higher the stat gets, the lower the return you get on that growth potential. You're not going to just boom your way to 100 at the same rate you were at, say, 20. When you get all the way up to about 60, 70, you start seeing some diminishing returns. And I'm not giving you exact numbers, just roundabouts. It's probably fairly, somewhat inaccurate, but that's still accurate overall. And then, of course, when you get 80 plus, closer to 100, then it becomes harder to grow those stats, of course, because by that time, you're acting nearly at max proficiency. So, of course, you're going to see diminishing returns. That's a no-brainer in my mind. I'm going to leave it at that. That's make what you want out of that. For me, growth potential is a big deal. And for some units, it's absolutely vital. Just my opinion. Perk tree. Each squad leader has their perk tree that can be unlocked through promotions. Not all perks are unique to each character, but the selection and order of unlocks will be different for each, which is true. You'll see that buff is available. It's like a tier 2 on some. Most squad leaders, I'd even argue. But let's say you look at one and you'll see it's a tier 1. That just means you're able to pick it up sooner, that it may benefit that squaddy in that way faster. And so there's, once again, perks kind of curtailing to a certain playstyle per squad leader. That's up to you whether you want to adhere to that suggestion, because that's what it is, that suggestion on playstyle or not. Enjoy the game. Just take a look, read, go through it. I have guides on all the squad leaders, so check that out too while you're at it. Moving on, infantry squad customization. And here we got a wonderful image right here with a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5 with a nice breakdown for each. Let's go over it. Infantry squads are going to be the most common type of squad you will recruit. Number 1, squad size. You'll have access to a limited number of squaddies at any given time. Okay. Assign them to different squad leaders to increase or decrease their squad sizes respectively. So you can toggle that plus and minus up there in that number. Additional squaddies can be acquired in a few different ways to replace those that fall in combat. We'll describe this later. Note that increasing the size of your squad will also increase your supply cost to deploy on missions, which is absolutely true. Sometimes you want to take a squad leader and let's say they're 40 points over the supply cost. Drop 4 squaddies and suddenly that you can afford them. I don't know what the exact ratio the cost is per squaddie. I'm pretty sure it's based on loadout. Regardless, you can toggle this number up and down to get them across the line. Bear that in mind. Of course, a really popular thing that a lot of new players don't realize or maybe even just feel comfortable running is running a squad leader with only 2 squaddies, which is the bare minimum. That will greatly reduce the cost of your squad and will allow you to deploy more squads at a cheaper rate. Bear that in mind. Maybe you have an armor, which there are some armors that are incredibly expensive supply cost wise. You want that armor on, let's say it's concealment armor. Well, you don't need a ton of squaddies to run a concealed unit, especially if you're using like a sniper rifle as a infantry special, your secondary weapon. We'll go over that in a minute. And so, yes, you want to run a cheaper squad with lower 2 squaddies or, around about there so that you can have those expensive items on the squad and run them still and have the benefit of them while keeping your supply costs down. which we're going to get into infantry special and infantry weapons in a minute, but yeah, that's one way to work around that. Let's get right into it right now. Infantry weapon. The primary weapon that your squad will use. Hovering over any weapon provides you with a range of stats. Helpful in finding the right weapon for the right squad. Consider stats like range, damage, and rate of fire for suppression purposes when equipping your squad with a particular weapon. This is so important, and they're absolutely right. A lot of times when you look at a weapon, you can hover over it and you'll get this nice little graph where it just shows the range of the weapon, and then you'll see the accuracy of the weapon, which accuracy often is a direct reflection, that's what I want to say, of damage. Now, it shows a hit point damage mark right there, but if you miss, you're not dealing with damage. So a lot of times that accuracy is a great reflection of that. And you'll see accuracy usually starts at a midpoint or a low point and will increase to a peak and then drop back off. That peak is the perfect accuracy, and that's judged by a 1 to 10 ratio, or 1 to 15 is on the screen. But regardless, that's going to mean 1 is each square or tile. So in this example, we're taking a look at the bar modded to carbine, and so it shows that this has an optimal range of 3 tiles away. So if an enemy is 3 tiles away from the enemy, or from you using this gun, that's when you're hitting them with the best accuracy. Now, you're not doing the most hit point damage, but you're hitting with the best accuracy. Bear that in mind. It has a rate of fire of 2, which means each time you use it, you're getting those 2 shots off per element of your squad. And maybe your squad leader, and there's a big maybe there, which we'll get to in a minute. And so that's the potential for you to do damage, as it shows right there, that hit point damage and the armor penetration. You'll basically be doing that twice because your rate of fire is 2. And then it shows elements hit. You're only hitting 1 element. So meaning, if you're fighting an enemy that is only 1 element, everybody's shooting the same thing. If you're fighting an enemy that has, let's just say, 8 elements, there's the potential that everybody's hitting a different element, a different target in that group. So a lot to bear in mind, a lot to think about. And then once again, there's ways to increase that accuracy and play with that moving forward. Infantry special. Special weapons such as the LMG, RPG, or sniper rifle can only be equipped in this slot and are less common than the regular infantry weapons. If one is assigned, the squad leader carries that weapon instead of the infantry weapon, and they are will typically have a limited number of uses per battle. This is 1000% accurate, and so if you choose to put an infantry special on your squad, you are then taking your squad leader out of the firing line using their infantry weapon. They will only use that infantry special, and so when you choose to use your quote-unquote basic attack using your infantry weapon, your squad leader will no longer be a part of that, and so you're basically shooting that much less, 1 element down as far as how much you're shooting, but you're supplementing that with some kind of a extra attack or a different way to attack, which was unique to your squad leader. So when you fire that RPG, your whole squad isn't firing RPGs, it's just your squad leader. A lot of people don't realize that. It's a really important thing to acknowledge. I'm just going to leave that right there. Good luck with that. All right, and then infantry armor. Your squad can equip themselves with multiple types of armor, which not only protects against different kinds of weapons, but can also expand the number of accessories the squad can carry. Armor also has a durability that is reduced every time it successfully stops a bullet. And so really good stuff right there. Good to understand, good to know. And so when you're wearing that armor, you'll have a nice gray bar above your character. And then, of course, like it says, when you take hits, it's not for free, y'all. Like, this stuff gets perforated, beat up, shot. And so it starts to wither away. Be aware of that. You can just completely shake off damage, hits, but after a while, your armor takes enough hits, you're not going to be able to shake off or shrug off any damage, and you're going to just eat every bit of it. Take that into consideration. Infantry accessories. These accessories can range from grenades and magazine pouches to explosives and reconnaissance drones, giving your squad an advantage on missions. And yes, this is such a big deal. What a lot of people don't realize going into this game is when you're shooting your infantry weapons and your infantry special, of course, you have a limited amount of ammo. So a lot of people will go in these missions and they'll get like halfway through their first mission, they'll be like, well, I can't shoot anymore. Yes, you have a limited ammo count. Make sure you take a look at that when you're firing. If there's a number, it's on each specific ability and it shows you. And if you run out of ammo, then you're done-ski. Well, there's an accessory that helps supplement some of that and take care of that issue, and it's like ammo pouches. It's almost a standard on most squad leaders, especially in the beginning of the game. As you get further in the game, you kind of figure out what you want to use. That's the only way you can do it. Like, there's no guide that tells you exactly when and where to change things, especially to meet your needs. You have to just have the experience, and then you'll decide what you like. There's all kinds of different grenades, fragment grenades, which are really good for suppression. If you have fragmentation as a perk, then it does pretty decent as far as killing enemies. You have thermite grenades, which tears through structures and even highly armored enemies. You have the all-important and coveted smoke grenade. Absolutely adore this. This is a phenomenal weapon that literally, like, smoke is overpowered. We'll get into that another time. I've mentioned it numerous times, but smoke is overpowered. You have smoke grenades, phenomenal. You have sonar, which it's like a radar. It tells you where enemies are around you. That's massive. You can see them even in the fog of war. You get the bots, like it said, the skybot drone, so you can send that out. It will do some reconnaissance for you, and then, but it's susceptible to damage itself, and then it can't be deployed multiple times, so bear that in mind. And yeah, there's a lot to put in there. There's a ton of accessories. And then, of course, drugs, which, you know, have tons of benefits within themselves, and I'm not going into right now. But there's all kinds of different things. Maybe a unit struggling with suppression. Every time they take some kind of a fire, they're like super suppressed, or they start wavering, or they lack discipline. And so you want to get a drug that gives them that, makes them resilient against suppression, and you have that. You can put that in the accessory slot. And then the different armors is what determines how many accessory slots you have. So you might put on a heavy armor, but only have one accessory slot. So it makes you more resilient, but now you can carry less options as far as extra utility. That's a big deal. Maybe you want to take a less bulky armor that has an additional accessory slot. So make sure you pay attention and look at all that when you're considering your armors and your accessories. Whew. There's a lot to take in there. All right. And then vehicle customization, because of course some of our squad leaders are pilots. And so you have 1, 2, 3, and 4 here on the image, just like you do on your infantry squad leaders. But let's go over these, okay? Pilot squad leaders are much less common, but are equally as varied in their customization. Pilots, okay, I'm sorry. Let's go. Number 1, vehicle. The squad will remain inactive until you select a vehicle for the squad leader to operate a chassis. Do note that you will need to manually add the squad to the mission using the Add Mission button at the top right. And so pilots do not go into missions without vehicles. Period. Dot. Remember that. If you're wondering why you can't use a pilot, it's probably because they need a chassis. Once you pick your chassis, what they're driving, then you're good to go. Depending on what you choose for a vehicle will depict what you can pick for number 2. And so this is modular vehicle heavy. And so this is a heavy weapon. Not always available on all vehicles. Bear that in mind. Each vehicle is different. They might offer a medium and a light. They might offer just a light. They might offer a heavy and a medium. Just bear that in mind. Moving forward. Heavy and powerful weapons that can be added to the slot. Yes. Number 3, modular vehicle light. A light weapon similar to the infantry special weapon, but designed to attach to the vehicle instead, such as MMGs, which are, you know, your machine guns, light flamethrowers, or plasma rifles. And then, of course, number 4, vehicle accessories. Similar to infantry accessories, these additional items can provide your vehicle with advantages on missions. And so one thing that, once again, I'm going to reiterate, depending on your chassis that you choose, your vehicle depicts on what kind of weapons you can bring. Please remember that. Just because you go into the black market, which we'll get into in a little bit, and you buy a heavy weapon for a vehicle doesn't mean that your vehicle can use it. So check, okay? The same is true for accessories. You might buy a ton of accessories for your infantry, then you go in your vehicle and you're looking for your accessory and there's nothing pulling up. That's because vehicle accessories are completely separate of infantry accessories. So when you're buying your accessories, make sure you read, make sure you're understanding what you're buying for. It might say extra ammo and look nice because it's got a big ammo crate, and then it ends up only being for vehicles. So then you're looking for it when you're trying to equip your infantry and you're like, what the crap? Just read, make sure you check it, take your time. There's vehicle accessories and then there's infantry accessories, and they are separate. And the same is true of weapons. There's vehicle weapons, heavy, medium, light, and then there's infantry weapons, which is weapons and then special weapons. They're very separate. There's a lot to buy. There's a lot to keep up with. But it's nice. It's easy. Once you've customized your squads, it's time to head into your first operation, which we're going to get into right now. And so here you go. Operations are sets of missions across the Wayback System and will be your path of progression. On accepting an operation, you must either complete all the missions or abort in order to move on to another. This causes a reduction in faction standing for the faction you are working with for that operation. And so when you're on the overhead map and you're looking at all the planets, you can see the various missions available with a timer next to them. The timer is important. If you let that tick down to 0, then you lose the opportunity to do that mission. For me, I can't stand that. I like to do them all. So take that in consideration and bear that in mind. There is an OCI that increases this count, by the way, for each one. Once you pick one and you acknowledge, you accept, you're locked in. You're looking at this map right here, which is a tree. We're going to say that forking paths to lead to a final goal. You choose your starting point, you choose which path you take, and it leads to a final goal. If you hover over each one, you'll be able to see the reward of completing that mission. So make sure you do that. Hover over each one, read the reward, make sure it's in line with what you want. Maybe you're after more equipment, so choosing one that's going to allow you to have an equipment bonus as a reward is a big deal, which there's some pretty nice equipment out there. But if it's equipment from pirates, you might not enjoy it as much as if it was equipment from the rogue army, which is inherently better. Take that into consideration too. Also, there's going to be various effects that affect that mission, nothing past that. There's going to be ones that allow you to get bonus promotion points, bonus supply, takes away from your enemy supply, takes away from your enemy range. There's a plethora of different things you can get when you're selecting these missions, so make sure you hover over them and read. I can't tell you which ones are better than the other. It really just depends on what you're trying to achieve in this point of the game. What I can tell you is that early game, you want to get as much equipment and items as you can. As of the time of this recording, equipment is something to be coveted. Early game and mid game, you have a pretty wide variety of what you can get, but once you get into the late game, you're going to find it's nigh impossible to get some of the early game items because they won't appear anymore. They won't appear anymore as a mission reward, hardly. They won't appear in the black market anymore. And that's because of the progression of the game and something that they need to tweak in the black market, where later you get in the game, the less you see the early game items, to the point where they're just locked out and you don't see them at all. And I sincerely have not just seen a lot of things at all anymore. I'm sure they'll fix this. This is early access, but just understand, I think, in my opinion, early game, getting equipment is the most important thing you can get. So I would personally target those. That's just me. Moving on, okay? Missions in MENACE are procedurally generated and drawn from a larger pool of missions depending on the operation type. You can click on any mission in the set to find out details, including difficulty, supply limits, description, objectives, and potential rewards, as we just discussed in detail. This will allow you to determine which path to follow. Some of these rewards are permanent additions to your inventory, such as equipment, while others specifically help make a particular operation easier, like reinforcements in the final mission. And that's very true. And that's very important. When you click on these missions, you can see the difficulty rating, which is nicely illustrated there, and there's skulls to indicate how difficult it is. Don't be scared of higher difficulty missions, please. Take the risk, do it, enjoy yourself. I personally haven't seen a huge difference in difficulty. I don't know at what rate it scales. I feel like the higher difficulty, the more enemies it is all. But that's just me. I want more enemies. I want more rewards. I'm a little bit of a sick person, maybe. I don't know, but that's just me. And then, of course, you have that supply icon with that number. That's your supply allowance. That's what we're going to say. That allows you to spend that much supply to complete the mission. Take that into consideration, because if you have a squad leader that costs 700 supply costs and you're 13 and your allowance is 1300, well, that one squad leader is going to take up half of your allowance, and so it's really tough. Take it in for what it's worth. Make your decisions as you need to out there. All right, and then mission prep. And so this is your mission prep screen. You got the 1, 2, and a 3, and then of course your 4, which we're going to get into and read about in some great detail. And so once you've selected a mission, you'll need to prepare for it. There are a few key elements to look over before starting. 1. Detail and objectives. Provides time of day, weather, and objectives for your mission. Note that certain weather conditions can cause limited visibility for your squads, potentially slowing them down or reducing their field of vision, and nighttime missions vastly reduce the line of sight for your squads, and enemies too. I have to note that. You need to recognize that and know that. I've literally had concealed enemies, or allies, I'm sorry, squad leaders, right next to enemy units and them not see. It's hilarious. Nighttime missions are real, and the disadvantages are felt on both sides. Intel details. Upgrading the TCR and Impetus Intel components will allow you to see detailed information about enemy squad positions and squad types. And this is true. And so when your intel is not great, you will see a lot of unknowns on the map, actually. But like you even see right here, it says alien wildlife, and that's a general, indicator. And then you'll see this one right over here. It's got a little special notation on it, or a special mark. If they're a blank, we're going to say diamond. If it's a blank diamond, then you don't have intel on it. You just know that what it is in general. But if it's got a little symbol inside of it, then you know what it is, and you can actually click on that, and you can read specifically what that enemy type is. So intel is very, very useful. Some people don't use it, no harm. No, there's nothing wrong with that. That's on you. But it can be very, very useful. Number 3, squad positioning. You can position all squads within the light orange regions of the mission map. This is essential for mission success, as it allows you to determine where to deploy specific squads to achieve certain objectives or counter enemy squad types once you have gathered intel. To move your squad, left click and drag the squad to the desired location and drop it into that place. You can also, and if you drag and drop it on another squad leader, it'll just instantly swap positions, nice and easy. It's very, very nice. And then, of course, there is a perk that allows you to increase your deployment zone, which I believe is Vanguard. But regardless, you're going to be able to deploy that squad member specifically with that perk at a much larger deployment zone, which can be really, really useful for securing kills on high-value targets or maybe highly threatening targets, which are still high value in my mind. But regardless, really useful tool there, something to take into consideration. And also take a note on the various terrain. You'll see more solid blocks on the map are things that you're generally unable to shoot through. That means that you're behind that, it'll give you the full cover, and you're not able to shoot through that, and it'll even block your vision. If the square is kind of grayed out or transparent, then that means that you can use it as cover still, but you're generally able to shoot through it. And then when it comes to forest terrain and trees, it's a little more tricky. You've got to look a little more closer, because you're going to see kind of like super grayed out areas that don't fit the squares completely. And those can be trees, those can be a pain, those can obstruct, your movement, your visibility, and they give very minuscule cover. There's a lot to take in there, but that's pretty unique to the trees for the most part. Now, number 4, mission supplies. Each mission has a limited amount of supplies you can equip. Hovering over each squad, you can see the supply costs for each squad in the mission. If you are over the supply limit of the mission, consider modifying your squad's loadout or squad size, which can be done in the mission prep screen. Very nice, very good, which you can see at the bottom, that loadout. It's very nice. If you click on a squad that's not added to the mission, it will tell you instantly at the bottom of the loadout screen how much that change will cost. It might put you over, which that number at the bottom right will no longer be green, it'll be red, and that means that you are over the cost of the mission, and so you'll have to do some tweaking. The same is true of clicking on a squad member or squad leader that is already up in the mission. When you click on them, it'll indicate where they will be if you were to take them out. And yeah, play with it, have fun, figure out your loads. Once again, you can tweak squaddies. This is really important stuff. You're going to always be doing this dance of trying to find the right cost, the right amount. And for some people, their whole play styles is completely built around supply costs because it's tedium, you know? And so bear that in mind. Enjoy yourself. Moving on to the combat. Once again, I mentioned a combat guide. I actually think that this is something that needs to be covered all within its own, but we're going to discuss the general of it here and move forward. All right, so Combat in MENACE is based on traditional turn-based tactical system with some new mechanics that you will need to keep in mind for successful missions. Missions are comprised of rounds of turns where all units on the battlefield are allowed to have their actions before starting the next round. Very good stuff. And so, unlike other turn-based tactical games, there's no initiative system here, meaning any squad can move during the faction's turn, and there are no perks, abilities, or weapons to ensure certain squads can move before any other. Each faction must move all of its squads once before being able to use a prior one again in the next round. So, once again, no initiative means no speed. It's just you're taking turns. You're playing chess. You choose a squad, you move it, you take an action. Even if you just choose to deploy it and take a knee, you're in then. There's no getting out of it. You are committed to that action with that squad, and you have to spend as much of that action economy as you have, all those action points that you can, taking an action and doing what you want. There is no switching. And once you end that one squad member's turn, the enemy gets its turn. And they'll choose, based on what they have available, what's the most important. So, here's what I'm going to say to you. Take your time. Don't rush your movement. I initially thought that I had to take the turn order given to me, because I'm an idiot. You could choose whoever you want. It might start you, and it will start you the same squad leader every time. You don't have to act with that squad leader first. If you have a squad that's under fire, that's being suppressed, when the new round starts, they'll instantly shed some of that suppression. If you want to get them out of trouble, you're going to act with that squad first. Then your other squads. Or you want to use a squad to get them out of trouble first. Bear that in mind. The same is true of the enemy. If you have enemies suppressed, which is a key mechanic of the game, we'll get into that later, you want to make sure you hammer them down while you can, or keep them suppressed because it keeps them out of the fight. If you choose to do something else with Jane Doe over here, there's actually a Jane Darby. Regardless, if you choose to do something with Jane over here, but you ignore your suppressed enemy, understand that that round has now shed some of that suppression, so they may no longer be pinned down or unable to act, and so they'll be able to do what they want if it's a higher priority to the enemy, the AI. It's a lot to take into consideration. Take your time. Click on the different profiles or tab through your squad leaders and decide which one you want to act with first. Moving on. Action points. Every squad has action points, or AP, that determine everything they can do in a single turn, including movement, using equipment, and attacking the enemy. There are numerical indicators for every action that represents the cost of AP for that unit. And so as you can see right here, we got this 1, 2, 3, and 4 on the screen. That action point right there for 1, as you can see, is crouching. That is where they deploy. They take a knee. Not only do they get some bonuses in various different ways like accuracy, but it's going to allow you to basically be more defensive. It's a benefit to deploy. Not always. It takes away from your ability to move. You have to literally stand back up and spend action points to do so. But if you're in a good hardened position, or you're secure in your concealment, whatever it may be, and you want bonuses to your accuracy, your defense, whatever, deploy, take that knee, enjoy yourself, move on. 2, firing a rifle costs 40 AP, which is true. General fire is 40 AP. That's for your general weapons and or special weapons, though there are some that are more heavy hitting that require 60 AP to hit. And then of course there's tons of perks that alter for various reasons how much AP it costs to fire. And so make sure you're reading, you're checking your perks. You'll see some that really help with that and some that don't. Regardless, general fire 2 is 40 AP. As you can see, there's an additional fire rate with the bar where you can kind of just spray and hit hard, and then that's costing 80 AP. But that's like a one and done. Like, you see them, they're within good range, you just want to get them out of the way, waylay them, so you're full sending. But bear in mind, on this squad, you can see Darby right here, she's only got 2 squaddies, so there's only 2 elements firing that bar. It's generally ineffective. It's generally ineffective. She's running that SR-31, the HM sniper rifle, and so that's what she's really wanting to play around. With only 2 squaddies, that bar is really not doing well, and it's actually not good to run in my opinion, an expensive rifle like that when you're not really looking to utilize it, or you probably won't, at least. But that's me, neither here nor there. One other thing too in this image is you can see that slash through the eye right there on her squad. And that means that she is concealed. The enemy cannot see her. You do not have to be hidden in actually something or behind something to be concealed. The enemy has a fog of war too, so if you can just stay out of their vision range versus what it goes against your concealment, play with that, move around, try it. You can stay concealed while standing right out in the open in broad daylight. So take that in for what it's worth. Number 3, moving to a new tile will provide a cost next to the move, which you can see right there. They're moving. It costs 45 AP to move to that position. This is why so many people absolutely love having the various perks that reduce your action points per movement, because it's so powerful. You're always moving, so you're always getting value out of that perk, which makes it a highly rated perk. Take that in for what it's worth. And then number 4, the AP bar on the bottom of the squad's panel will indicate visually how much it is left after any action. And so that's true when you look there and you're deciding on what to do and you're considering your actions and you're just aiming on your enemies or considering your squares as far as movement. You will see that bar indicating how many action points you'll have left. This is a huge quality of life item right here that I constantly use and reference and look at. So make yourself familiar with it and enjoy that, because instead of trying to crunch some math, do some math, which is good for you, don't get me wrong, but that makes it much more easy and simple. All right, combat order. In MENACE, you decide the order of your unit's movements, which we discussed already. This means you can move a tank into position at the very end of a round, and at the start of the next round, use the same tank to attack first before the other units, which is absolutely a tactic. Same is true with smokes, things like that. You might throw a smoke down, moving your ally into that smoke at the end of a round, which completely denies them vision. They can't do anything. In the beginning of the very next round, because you're in a good position to just absolutely waylay an enemy, step out of the smoke, full spray, step back in the smoke, and they can't do anything. Or maybe you don't even need to step back in the smoke, but regardless, understand you can use that turn order to your advantage in a big way. Once you've begun a unit's action, it is committed until they have either used up all their AP or you choose to end their turn before doing so. Be cautious. That's very right. Ending that unit's turn means that they cannot use their AP again until all units on the battlefield have gone through their turn. So once you've used that, which there are just a few ways, one I can really think of, where you can give more action points and economy and allow somebody to act again. There's nothing else out there. So once you just decide to take an action, even if you have AP left over and you save it, it's not being saved, guys. You're effectively throwing it away. And so I'd urge you to use all your AP as best you can, because you're not going to get to use that squad again until next round, and you're not getting a refund on that AP. You're not putting it in the bank. It's just gone. Past that, moving on. Ooh. Ending that unit's turn means that they cannot use that AP again, as I just mentioned. If you are overextended in a squad at the start of your round and stumble on multiple enemy units, those units could converge on your squad, having several chances to attack before you can do anything in response. And this is where knowing is so important, because that very scenario I have encountered multiple times. Walking into an enemy ambush is real, or walking around a corner not aware of what other enemies lurk right nearby is very real. And so you may choose to end your turn next to, say, a corner where you feel safe, but the enemy has multiple units there. They'll just spend their turns walking right around into it, as long as they're not concealed and they know you're there, and they'll spray you down, and they'll be ruthless. It's a big deal. And it stinks. It hurts. It will happen. And this also leads me to want to bring this point up too. Generally, when you go into a mission, the enemy has more squads than you. So it's 1-for-1 playing chess up until your last squad acts. Then it's just them taking multiple actions with all their squads. Yeah. So take that into consideration too. So if you spend all your squad leaders' turns and you're taking that, we're going back and forth playing chess, and they have effectively 5 squads left over, it's just their 5 turns. With those squads, mind you, not other ones, but that's something to consider. Note that there is a squad leader perk that allows specific squads to move now and then move later in the round once your unit has finished its turn. That's right, Mr. Edwin Pike. And then once your unit has finished its turn, it will cycle through all other factions on the battlefield, allowing a single squad per faction to complete its turn before returning to you. That's right. Note that other factions may have more squads than you do, resulting in multiple cycles of those factions until everyone has had their turn, which is what I just highlighted. Very, very true. All right, now let's talk about cover and sightline. Both infantry and vehicles can utilize cover, with each tile having various levels of cover depending on terrain or building. A building on the left side of a squad can provide full coverage, yet the squad could be entirely open to the right or behind them. Cover can also break the line of sight for a squad hiding their position, making urban combat much riskier than in the open field. Very true. And the same is opposite too, but regardless. For units caught in the open field, to further protect the squad in low cover environments, you can use some AP to crouch for better bonuses, which also allows that squad to use their special weapons. Not always, but yes, should they have the AP to do so. Note that while crouched, the squad cannot move until they get out of the crouching position for a similar AP cost, which, you know, deploying and then standing up, similar cost, and then it's required. In order to move, you have to stand back up regardless. Vehicles can also use cover, but it may restrict their line of sight of fire. And yeah, vehicles, yes, they will use the cover too. Arguably to less of an effect. That's my opinion. You tell me, because like if you stand behind something, you'll see like one little shield versus somebody else standing behind, they'll get 2. They're bigger, so it makes sense. But yeah, consider moving slowly in areas with lots of terrain elements and buildings to limit the chance of falling into an ambush from enemy units in heavier cover, which is very true. It's very accurate. But most of the time, the game's kind of rushing you to get things done with the turn. Basically saying, like, get this mission done. You got to finish it in 14 rounds. So suddenly, like, it's a dance, man. You've got to take your time, find it out, you know, be cautious. But you also got to hurry. You got to take some risks. And so enjoy. It's chaotic. It's fun. It's really good. I love it. Attacking squads. When you're in a position to attack an enemy squad, select the attack you want to use and then hover over the enemy squad, bringing up the overview of the attack. And as you can see in this image right here, we can see Mr. Pike. He's got a full squad of 8. He is looking down, aiming his bar at them, and you can see he has medium accuracy, which it looks like he's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 tiles away. So it's at maximum range basically. Anyways, or near it. But he's aiming at them. He's only got medium accuracy. And so we can see from that graph when we looked at the bar, that's not the optimal range to shoot at. And so, but he gets full armor penetration because they have like really crap armor on these insects. And so he will punch through it if he does land his hits. But yeah, once again, he has a rate of fire of 2. So that means each element of his squad, which is 8, is firing basically 2 effective damaging rounds at him per 1. And so yeah, let's read more about this. Here you'll be able to determine the best attack or not by looking at potential factors such as accuracy, armor penetration, and suppression potential towards the enemy unit. So that suppression potential is a big one, and as you can see right there, it says no suppression. But yeah, you don't have to hit an enemy to suppress them. Make that known. If you shoot at an enemy and they're susceptible to suppression, you can just shoot all around them effectively and miss every single shot, but because you're shooting in their area, it will suppress. And the higher the rate of fire on the gun, the more suppression you're dishing out. It's really, really good. Moving on, you can also consider modifiers such as whether the squad is in cover, deployed, or crouched, as well as their level of suppression, armor level, and squad health. No outcome is guaranteed, but this can provide enough information to confirm or cancel the desired attack, which is very right. Like, it tells you very well how well you're going to do, what you're dealing with, and you can make some very informed decisions in this scenario. And so let's take a look at this image in particular with Mr. Pike. He has a medium accuracy. He's standing out in the open. He's going to take these shots. We don't see any other enemies on screen, but our range and vision is limited. And then he has support here. And so for me, if I were in this round, I'm not really worried about getting Mr. Pike to cover because I don't see any other enemies on the screen. I have 103 action points. So that is enough action points to deploy, get bonus accuracy, and to fire 2 rounds with those rifles, that bar. So I deploy, bonus accuracy. Now I'm hitting more, potentially killing, and I waylay. I send both shots, hopefully killing the bug, and if I don't, then I'm moving in with Mr. Yaz right over here, or whoever that is that's next to Mr. Pike, and finishing the job, effectively removing that unit. Remember, a dead unit can't fight back, can't be a hindrance. It's better to get them off the map and be done with them. All right, psychological effects, suppression. And so suppression represents a unit's performance degrading both physically and mentally due to being attacked, be it directly or indirectly. As I mentioned before, a unit is harder to suppress than the more discipline it has. When a unit accumulates suppression, it will move from ineffective to suppressed, and then finally to pinned down. Each subsequent level of suppression reduces the combat effectiveness of the squad, and from accuracy to the amount of AP they will have in their next turn. This is really, really big. It's a really big deal, and you can see that on this image right here. They can see that they're deployed, but they're also suppressed. And you can see they're pinned down, which means they really don't have a lot they can do. And yeah, it's a big deal. It has multiple effects, which we get into, like I said, in another guide, another time. But there are several ways suppression to be applied to a squad. Dealing damage to a squad, especially when a squaddie is killed. Suppression is applied per shot, so weapons with high rate of fire tend to apply more suppression. Reduced in cover or when the squad wears heavy armor. It's very legit. Reduced depending on the discipline of the squad, and then a portion of the suppression is also applied to neighboring tiles, and that's true too. So if there's two enemies, let's say they're close to each other, but there's an adjacent tile connecting them, you can shoot right there in between them at that adjacent tile and effectively suppress both of them. It's super duper great. Really, really nice stuff right there. You can see in the current level of suppression for any visible squad on the battlefield by looking at the top bar of the squad or by hovering over the squad to bring up the combat stats. It's very accurate, very true. That's what that yellow indicates is suppression. Psychological effects, wavering and fleeing. Very big deal right here. And so when a unit takes repeated attacks or loses multiple squaddies in a single turn, it can overwhelm them to the point of wavering. This is huge. Noted by the squad icon pulsing white, then fleeing, noted by the squad icon staying white. Okay, this is huge. As I was saying, you will often have, like I did, and I've struggled with this with Mr. Van Plu. He put him in heavy armor. He's meant to take some hits and do some stuff. I put him out there. He literally, his main perk is to draw fire. Like the benefit, he benefits from drawing fire and getting shot. He's got another perk that it forces enemies to shoot at him. So bear that in mind. He's literally not taking any damage. His armor's taking damage, but he's not. But I've still seen him start wavering and then flee. Bonkers, man. Bonkers. So this is a really big deal. Suppressing your enemies and all that, really, really important stuff. But there's a lot that happens in that. You don't necessarily have to damage them in order to get those bonus effects and so on. But regardless, these squads cannot attack in the round, but have a chance to recover morale. On the chance that they do not, they may flee the battlefield, each round taking a new opportunity to recover. And enemies are not like you. When your units flee, they try to get out of dodge, but they've got actual square mileage to cover. Enemies, on the other hand, they will flee, and you will see a nice little animation where they run, take a turn or whatever, and then they just disappear. Right from the middle of the map, they just poof. It's maddening, man. Be aware of that. If you can, finish your enemies quickly, because enemy that flees and goes away, in my mind, gives you less rewards at the end of the game. I can't say for a fact that you don't get drops from them. I'm pretty confident you don't. Take it for what it's worth. Tactically, these units are no longer a threat in that round, meaning you can turn to securing mission objectives or other enemy squads if you prefer. Alright, now attacking vehicles. Here we go. Attacking vehicles yield slightly different stats. Many vehicles are equipped with directional armor, which is very real, meaning that certain sides may have more armor than others. When you choose to attack a vehicle, consider its armor levels when you hover over it, and note that certain weapons are more effective against it than others. Choosing a rocket launcher with a heavy gun with high penetration will result in the most devastation. Very true, very accurate. Vehicles absolutely have better armor in certain parts, which is important not only when you're applying damage to vehicles, but also when you're piloting a vehicle trying to withstand damage. And as you can see in this screen, it indicates that this vehicle that they're targeting has higher armor on the front of 108. Side armors are, I believe that's an 84. Might be a 94, but it looks like an 84. And then the back armor is 60, so you're going to get a lot more joy out of shooting its tail than you are the head of it or the sides of it. So take that in for what it's worth. When taking damage, rather than facing a psychological effects, vehicles take component damage instead, potentially knocking them out of service and stranding the vehicle. Now, it says instead of psychological effects, meaning that they will not be pinned. They will not be suppressed. But they still can waver and flee. Just take that into consideration. Vehicles also have different controls from infantry squads. For example, a vehicle can move in reverse while still facing forward, where infantry squads can crouch using the hotkey X. vehicles can use X to face a certain direction while remaining in a tile. Both of these options are designed to keep the highest level of armor facing direction of fire when possible. Now, some vehicles still can crouch. Just throw that out there. There are walkers. But, yes, most vehicles are going to utilize that X now to turn and face the fire, which does cost action points still. Be aware. Alright, off-map abilities. This is coming from the Impetus directly based on the armaments you've added through the OCI system. Off-map abilities are unlocked by OCI upgrades and provide you with various options for orbital strikes on the battlefield. These types of abilities have a limited number of uses per battle, do not cost AP, and usually take a complete round of all squads to enact. You'll see off-map abilities icon fill up as it approaches the point of enactment. And so when you click to use it, as it shows right here, it will be a grayed out square of that image, and it will slowly fill up. I say slowly, it actually is pretty quick in my opinion, and then it'll take the strike. Sometimes it won't be as quick as you want. Bear that in mind. It does take time. I do not understand the scale or the values of that speed, so I can't give you like a one-for-one or a reference as to how long that takes. But it's not slow, but it's also not instant. So play with it, test it, enjoy it. And then also understand that it's also not 100% accurate either. If you click a square, you're not going to always get it directly on that square. And that's true of dropping turrets, that's true of dropping bombs. It can be frustrating. The one exception, I believe, is in you mark a target beforehand. Don't quote me on that. When using these type of abilities, it is often a wise strategy to lay down suppressive fire on the unit within the selected tiles, preventing them from moving out of the area of effect, once again, because it's not instant. So it's a very effective strategy to pin your opponents down, then hit them with the OCI. Definitely a good wham bam. Taking casualties. Taking casualties is inevitable for even the most skilled tacticians, and it's true. Like there's sometimes, and it's not as bad as XCOM here, guys. It's not. But sometimes you're going to take a hit. Sometimes you're going to be caught off guard and you're going to get surprised. Yes, it's very real. Now, some people, if the circumstances get bad enough, they'll just save scum it and then play the game your way. But you're talking about restarting a whole mission, a whole battle to avoid one mistake. That doesn't seem really plausible or real in my mind. I think you just live with your mistakes and they make you better. And so, yeah, it will happen. Moving on, it's important to understand that since squads are made up of group individuals, known as squaddies, losing these squaddies can also mean a reduction in combat effectiveness of that squad, 100%, as they will have less firepower for suppression, damage, or unit abilities. Remember that you can bring new squaddies into the squad in between missions. However, that manpower pool is not unlimited. It's best to protect your squads as much as possible, which is true. If you're losing a lot of squaddies fast, you're going to go through your manpower pool, and then you're going to get to the point where you don't have squaddies, and you'll be facing injured squad leaders because you won't have squaddies. You'll go in, you'll still take that same damage. So if you don't get smarter and get better, you're going to pay the price. When your squaddies get hurt, they become less effective, and yeah. And then maybe you're playing it on a harder difficulty where there's permadeath. Be aware. Of course, if you're playing at a higher level, surely you have some basic instincts of the game. You're not looking at this guide. Maybe you are. I don't know. Regardless, be aware, guys. Be cautious. Don't be scared to make mistakes, but grow from them. Learn from them. Moving on. Mission success. After completing a mission, you will receive the items from the mission parameters, as well as any loot the enemies may have dropped. The mission results screen provides additional information on a range of mission stats, including mission effectiveness, casualties, and overall rating. You'll be rewarded with promotion points based on the mission's success and the number of secondary objectives that were completed, which can go towards the aforementioned promotion tree to apply new abilities and stats for your squad. So, yes, secondary missions are important. They've tweaked them quite a bit. So it's not as bad as it used to be, but it used to be like completing secondary missions was sometimes impossible. I mean, completing a mission in 8 rounds and things like that. And it shows here in the screenshot 10 rounds. I'm pretty sure it's now 12 rounds and then 14 rounds or 16 rounds. It's pretty forgiving. When you're new to the game and you're being rushed to complete within a certain amount of rounds, it sucks. And you'll feel stressed and overwhelmed. Don't freak out. If you don't get the secondary missions, that's fine. If you miss one or two, that's fine. You're not going for perfect. Perfect happens when you understand the game and you have all of the tools in your arsenal to complete missions effectively in such a way. You're really going to take some time. You're not going to complete every secondary mission or objective every time when you start. You might. Maybe you're a prodigy. Maybe you're amazing, and more power to you. But for most people, that's not going to be the case, and you're just going to enjoy it. As long as you're completing the mission and a secondary objective or two, it's going to happen. For me, one of the worst ones isn't the time constraint. It's like, I don't like it when you go on the missions and you're not supposed to kill X amount of enemies. I don't like that. I want to kill them all because I want all the acquired items. I want all the rewards because of the black market and how important it is to fill out your arsenal and get everything. So for me, I just disregard that one. And I take the loss intentionally. Yes, you get less promotion points, but promotion points can be... It's a double-edged sword. You're promoting your squaddies and you're getting more out of them, but you make them more expensive by doing so. And depending on which ones you promote, some get really expensive really fast. Some don't. Like Carta, you can upgrade her and it doesn't really matter much. You know, or Lim, you can upgrade him. He literally gets discounts. So just bear that in mind. Pay attention to what you're doing. Read. Don't stress out when you don't have a perfect record on your mission success, because it's honestly, it's not a huge deal at the end of the day, in my opinion. So we got down here, the last screen details your squad summary, providing stats on damage dealt and received, suppression and squad loadout, and any temporary modifiers that might impact the squad's performance in the future. And so you can see right here, we've got Mr. Gabriel X Conde on the screen, and he is eager because of the success of the mission, which you can get these stats, these bonuses, or even negatives in between missions from various events and encounters. But you can see his kill count is pretty decent. He's got, you know, he's killed 6 infantry in 1 vehicle. He's making 7 all day. That's just a nice little extra caveat letting you know his effectiveness. And then he's now eager, which is going to be a bonus. So you get stat bonuses. Some stat bonuses aren't necessarily completely bonuses. Some also come with negatives. Just make sure you hover over them, read them. More on that in another video. Black Market. This is it, guys. You're going to be doing so much obsessing over Black Market, especially early game. It's crazy. Moving on. Black Market is a not entirely legal way to barter goods to upgrade your squad, from modifying guns to heavy-duty sniper rifles and turrets, armor to a massive range of accessories, and even vehicle chassis. Every squad item in the game has a market value displayed at the bottom right corner of its icon. To purchase black market items, or a black market item, simply select the item on the right and then match its value with your own inventory on the left. There is no incentive to overpay for items, so matching the price exactly will be best. And that's right. If you overmatch the price, you're not getting anything. You're donating. Understand that. So match the price as best you can. Yes. Every squad item in the game has a market value. Read that one. The black market's inventory changes after every operation, so it's highly recommended to check it regularly to see if you enjoy its wear. So after every operation is real. That's legit. It does not change after every mission. So when you choose an operation, you say have to go through 3 missions or 4. It's not changing during that time. It's after each operation. So you'll have all that time to accumulate goods and to get the things you want to purchase the desired items. It's a clock. It's a ticking clock. And then after that operation, it'll refresh. That's really good. For me, I kind of want it to refresh more often. I want more. I don't know how to supplement that or encourage that. And the game devs and whatnot, maybe they're happy with it. It's perfect. But I liked it where it was early in the game because I It gave me time to figure out and pick the things I wanted out of what was available. But late game, I want to refresh it more. And there's no way to do that currently. So just bear that in mind. Squad leader hiring. All right, this is the thing that a lot of us are really worried about, right? When you start with 4 squad leaders, that's right, that's how you start. You get to choose. Using them for every mission will wear them down and give negative modifiers for a number of missions. It's true. They get weary, and then if you use them again, then they become exhausted. If they're weary, put them down. Set them to the side. That's my opinion. But yeah. To counter this, as well as to address promotion and supply tax mechanics, you will need to hire new squad leaders. And in my opinion, you want to hire all of them. Get all of them. Hiring new squad leaders requires 2 things: a dossier purchase from the black market and the authority. Authority, as mentioned in the bridge section of the guide, modifies the discipline attributes of your squad leaders. This means that you will want to balance exactly when to hire a new squad leader in order to not affect said discipline negatively for your entire team. Definitely something to consider and think about. Each squad leader has an authority cost to hire, a star ranking which determines the quality of the squad leader, a designation of either infantry or vehicle, as well as their own set of stats, attributes, and promotion trees. So right here it shows Mr. Grayfinger. It costs 30 authority to hire him. There's nothing wrong with that. And they're all going to cost that, by the way. And anytime I've recruited, I've not seen anything different. Maybe it's changed. I don't know, but it's all, as I've seen, it's all been that. Regardless, you can get a nice good overview of what they got and make your decisions. Mr. Grayfinger's an expensive squad leader, so you might not want him early game. For a lot of people, they love him. And he is a broken character, and he's worth every bit of it. And you do want him right away. It's your game. Play it your way. But generally, the higher star value they have, the more expensive they are to run per battle. But their stats are higher. The lower the star value, the cheaper they are to run, but the stats are lower. So just bear that in mind. You can dismiss a squad leader at any time and receive their authority cost back. In which case, they will go back into the hiring pool to be hired at any point in the future. Very nice to know. Very good. Yes, we like that. We like that. And so, yeah, there's a lot to take in right there. Definitely something to think about. You can play around with it. Early game, this really matters. You're not going to have a lot to choose from. You're going to want squad leaders, but you're not going to want to give up all of your authority. You want to make sure that you have a balance. Remember, authority caps at 100, or at least it did as of the time of this recording or when I played. But regardless, I haven't started a new run, so maybe I'm out of touch. But yeah, it's all been that way for me. Take it in stride. Take it in stride. I can't tell you which squad leaders are the best to start with. For me, Miss Darby's a no-brainer. I like Rewa. I like Lim. And then past that, it's up to you. I take Tech usually. Tech's really, really good. Mr. Achilles is massively expensive. Requires a little bit of a planned failure in order to get the most out of him, but he can absolutely be broken. And then a lot of people love Bog. He's cheap, inexpensive, can do some really cool things, and he might really help your playstyle. But I just think Rewa is such a huge unit. It's hard not to want to get her right away. I don't think you're going to struggle too much with your squad leaders and overplaying them, and you're going to have plenty of room to act comfortably if it's your first playthrough and you're playing this on normal difficulty. If you choose to tweak it up to expert, just understand it's a different ball game and you're in the wilds. I wouldn't be watching this guide and wanting to do that. You need to play the game through, understand the game, then crank it up to expert, my opinion. You guys tell me, what do you think? Do you enjoy the guide? This guide is available through Hooded Horse's wiki. I'll definitely have that link in the description. It's pretty phenomenal. I didn't want to reinvent the wheel. I've added things as I felt necessary and said what I needed to say. For the most part, this is phenomenal stuff right here. Really, really good, informative. And so thank you so much, Hooded Horse. You guys are pretty phenomenal. You know, Overhyped Studios, pretty phenomenal. This game is pretty phenomenal. It's a huge exception to the rule as far as games coming out here from small studios and things like that. It's always hit or miss. Early access can be pretty abysmal, but not with MENACE. MENACE, it's been absolutely amazing. So if you're watching this guide and you're not sure what you got into, or you're trying to get up to speed, understand you're in for a ride. This game has been phenomenal, has a great team in and around it with a good publisher supporting it. So really, really good stuff. Really, really exciting, and I hope that you are loving it. Make sure you drop down in the comments and tell me about it. What's been your experience? What have you enjoyed? What did I miss? What should we add that a lot of these new players are really going to enjoy or benefit from? If I missed something, so I'm sorry. And yeah, if you think I'm worthy of it, guys, make sure you drop me a like and a subscribe. It really helps the channel out. I'm here for the long haul. I love this game. I want to keep covering it for a long time, and I've just enjoyed this game. It's a blast. Past that, thanks for watching, guys. Huge shout out and thank you to my soldiers. You guys and gals are the ones that make the difference. You keep the content flowing, me going, and everything rolling with the lights glowing. So I'm really, really grateful for y'all. Thank you so much for your support. If you too want to support the channel, make sure you check out the links down below where you can see not only become a YouTube member, we got Patreon, we got a Ko-Fi where we take all kinds of donations or tips, you name it. So thank you so much. And until next time, guys, I will catch you later. Bye.